It's difficult for us,
Unless
even when we're saying
you
no.
will see us after class.
No, the difficulty is not even in sending the money. It's when you want to say no, we would not necessarily put it in the pointed way that you put it.
Because we were not brought up with saying no the way that Annette would say no.
How do you relate to this issue of sending kakitu back home via Sendwave? Kakitu. You know, aka 20 bob. Yeah.
I always feel like 20 bob can go in my pocket.
Wow.
Here in the US. And I don't say that in
hater.
I'm not a hater. I don't say that in I say that because our friends and our friends, our family back home, they do not see the sacrifices that happen here in the US when you're sending that 20 bob, when you're sending that $100 back home to your family members.
Is not seeing or
Who
lack of
sees
understanding.
It? No. They do not see it because they do not have any context of what it's like to be in America, to work those jobs, to be able to have that $100 to be able to send back home. Okay?
Got it.
They don't have that context, and they will never have that context unless they come here. But those of us who live here, who are seeing our parents struggling, even if they're doing okay, but they're making a choice, there's always an opportunity cost. This $100, maybe it could have gone, or maybe this might, because COVID was a very great example. Mm-hmm. Because my family member got sick with COVID back home, and now they're in hospital. We don't know. We're in a pandemic. People are worried. Everyone is scared. And you're sending all this money back home, right?
Yes.
Meanwhile, you have kids in the house with nothing to do. And you're not able to spend money to give them, even books for them to read or activities for them to do, places that they can go safely and things like that. That money has been spent now for an auntie that you've never met. Think about it.
Netflix.
This is an auntie you've never met somewhere who's dying, who needs this $800. It almost sounds like a fairy tale.
You were named after her.
No, I wasn't named after any auntie.
No, I'm just saying sometimes,
just to add to make you feel like you should be more empathetic, and the truth of the matter is there's a disconnect, and so they can build resentment. If I ask, PS5 was very hard to get. There was supply chain issues. If a child is like, man, I really want a PS5, can you get me a PS5? It's like, it's $500, maybe $600 with a markup, whatever the case may be. At one time, it was $1,000, but we would never, we will never ask at that point. There was a time before it was that, right? So let's say we're asking when it's $650. It's a $100 markup, right? $650. I want to get this PS5. It's just come up. I want to play with my friends. We're in a pandemic. The only way I'm going to be able to hang out with my friends is if I have these things to play with them, right? Because that's a big way that people
read a book.
And connect with people. We're social beings. We're talking about children.
You can connect with the Mizambo.
Sir, we're talking about children, right? So I'm asking you, hey, can I get this PS5? I want to play this game. I want to connect with my friends. I haven't seen them. School has been shut down.
Yes.
Because abruptly, we didn't even have a chance to say goodbye.
There was no chance to even pull your pencils out of your locker.
All that stuff is done, right? So can I get this thing because I know my friend has it, and if we have this thing together, then we can play together,
and we can connect
get
online.
That connection back, right?
Correct.
We can get that connection back. No, I don't have that money for it. But then the very next week, you're talking about a sick auntie who needs $800 so that they can go to.
But that's a life. That's a life.
That's a life being saved.
That's a life versus.
This is not what I'm saying. You guys are speaking like adults.
Okay, sorry.
I'm talking about from the child's point of view. It hurts. It hurts that a week ago, when you had that same money that you're sending to auntie.
Yes.
It was a no for me.
I hadn't gotten paid.
Bruh. You are talking like you just came from Kenya the other day and you're working under table jobs. At some point in time, we're making good money. We're getting checks every 2 weeks. If you wanted to, if the answer was yes, you would figure out your paycheck to pay for that PS5. It's the automatic no and the automatic yes for them. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It's an automatic yes for them and an automatic no for us. That's very hurtful.
I think that's the reason why I think one key lesson for parents here is that automatic no's worked, when we're being raised back in Kenya, but automatic no's don't work for kids over here. I think if you have an intention of saying no,
just don't even.
Just be prepared.
It was a look.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
Be prepared
to have an answer.
Yeah,
that
be
makes
prepared
sense.
with an explanation.
Yes,
with an explanation that that's truthful. Not that I don't have money. You know, just be prepared with an explanation that makes sense to that kid's context. Don't just say no, because no's, you know, like no's worked for us. You know, like no, you know, like I want a computer game or whatever. No, that's good enough. It worked for us, but for kids here.
But today,
yeah,
why?
But that's what I'm saying.
What follows.
That's what I'm saying. You know,
yeah,
like,
and they know it's there, right?
So.
Now it's and here's the thing. Okay, sure. All those perspectives are great. Okay, this is one thing that I know is very important for all parents, and that's keeping our kids safe. The
Correct.
number one thing you can do to keep your kids safe from predators, from being, you know, hoodwinked or whatever, is to build up their self-confidence. When you keep giving them no's, when you don't give them explanations, when it's my way or the highway, they're going to accept that outside of the home, and that's not safe.
Yeah.
Correct.
If someone comes up
else
to
will
me
give
and
an
says,
alternative.
I have told you, you need to get in my car right now, and you can't ask me why, and that's what I'm saying, and I'm going to call your mother because you didn't listen to me. They're going to get in that car and be lost for the rest of their days. And that happens all the time. And you got to understand, black and brown people don't get looked for the same way as other people. Okay?
That is true.
You have to protect your children. This is not just a matter of, I shouldn't be having to explain to you why these things. Can you imagine? No.
I'm the adult, you're the child.
Let's think about the context in which we're living in. The one of the best things I've ever heard online, advice about how to prepare their children, it was build up their self-confidence. And you have to really, really think what that means. They need to be able to articulate. They need to be able to understand the context in which they're in. If you're giving them a no, you need to, it's very okay to say no. No, and my no is a no. And this is the reason why I'm giving you a no, and you can't question me. But let me tell you something. If somebody out there tells you no, you better ask them every single question as to why that is, because I don't need you accepting lower pay. I don't need you accepting unsafe environments. I don't need you accepting an abusive relationship just because someone said. But in the context of this home, I need you to understand, I have limited resources, and there are many of you, and I have many people depending on me, and I'm going to make sure that each of you guys get your basic needs. If you understand that versus, you know what I mean? Like, this is how we protect our kids.
Okay, and I think that's something that, because protecting our kids back home was shutting the gate. You know, like, don't open the door for anyone. That was protecting our kids. But then there's a lot of
locking the rotary phone with that padlock.
With a padlock, yeah, so that they can't call. But we have a lot of other dynamics that we're dealing here, especially in the digital space, whereby your kid could be safely locked inside the house, but there's someone who's connecting with them. Online. You know, like online, without you knowing. Yeah, but back to that question of sending money. So. First, Janice, you guys, you don't send money back home.
Who would we send money to?
Who does she know?
Whom do I have a relationship with back home
Cousin
that
Jen.
I would feel?
I mean, the reason I'm asking is because, you know, like people, they travel a lot. No, not even social only. There's your generation travels a lot back to Kenya. You reconnect with the family and everything. You never get these messages from people.
Sure, and I say no.
That you know, there's this.
But you didn't give them an explanation.
But did you give them an explanation?
Yes.
What was the explanation?
Well, cousin one time asked me for money for a particular item. In case he watches, I won't say exactly what it was, but a cousin of mine asked for an item. It's $50. I gave it to him. Then the next 2 weeks, he asked me for $100 for something else, and I said, listen. I really, really expected that $50 was going to do exactly what you said, because he had told me that this item was going to help him make more money. This was an investment in his ability to...
investment.
Yeah. This was an investment in his ability to do something for himself, right? And he'd never asked me before. So I said, listen, I have responsibilities here that are a priority to me. I had the ability the last time to give you. But moving forward, I'm not going to have the ability to give you money at a moment's notice. That's not something that I can do. Okay. I have children here.
So you let them know.
I let them know, and I'm very clear. I have children here. I have this here, whatever. If that thing that I invested in was able to do something for you, I'm so grateful.
Great.
You know?
Okay.
And I didn't ask if he bought the thing. I didn't, you know, he could have gone, and I don't know. I don't know if he did.
So Omosh, why is it difficult for us? Because I mean, I don't know, but I know for us.
Us is who?
No, us, you,
those of you who send money all the time.
The ones who send. No, it's difficult for us. Even when we're saying
you
no,
will see us after class.
No, the difficulty is not even in sending the money. It's when you wanna say no, we would not necessarily put it in the pointed way that you put it,
because we were not brought up with saying no the way that Annette would say no.
But do you think it's a factor
was I brought up with it?
Do you think it's a factor? Do you think it's a factor of being brought up, or the fact that there's still some emotional connection whereby you understand, you've probably been in that position before, and maybe you understand where that person is coming from, so you can't just hit like on the chin?
I don't know if I would say that we've been in that position. Because we've taken that poll here and even asked ourselves amongst you guys in the studio, like, did you really did you go without?
Yeah,
and we can't say that we went without.
But there are people within our within our context who've gone without.
Correct.
Yeah.
So us in particular, we haven't gone without, right? So I'm trying to eliminate that as a factor. But I think our connection stems from either you grew up with this person, you know this person, and you have you think you have an intimate relationship with them, until you find out that your intimacy stops at the financial,
right,
and then you get to a net stage of no. In fact, your no might even be worse than a net.
My no is very polite, but let me tell you something. Let's take it from an American context that maybe people can relate to. Shark Tank. There are people on Shark Tank who will give someone $1 million, $100,000, $20,000 to invest in their whatever it is that they have presented on Shark Tank.
Mr. Wonderful.
And they will never give that money to their own family members. Why? The reason is not that they don't have. The reason is not that they don't have emotional connection with these. Actually, I don't know. I can't speak personally, but maybe the reason is not that they don't have emotional connection. The reason is the person who's coming on Shark Tank has a plan. They have an idea. Even if it goes badly, they have tried. They've given you something. When someone is sending me a text message for money from Kenya, it's for nothing.
It's a grant.
You want me to give you money,
and
there's going to be no return. And so now you're tapped. I'm the oil that you have tapped, and so you can just keep coming and pulling.
There's no ROI. That is true.
And that to me is problematic. If we had entrepreneurial parents, and some of us do, and it's very impressive when I see it, and they're like, okay, so my family back home was struggling. These are the things that I did. I went and I invested in a well or a borehole, and we went and got water. So now that water issue, I'm not paying for water anymore, right? So when you're invested in that, I'm not sending money every week so that you can get water brought to your house. I've invested so now you can get the water. Correct. That makes sense to me, okay? And then you continue, okay, now we have a shop. Now we have this, now you go. And then at some point in time, it's like, Connie, the shop isn't doing anything.
No, you're right.
What about investing in education? From kindergarten to
like paying school fees.
And paying school fees.
Paying school fees is a big
kindergarten
one.
to
paying school fees
to, to university.
Speaking of paying
for your cousin who has three kids.
Speaking of paying school fees,
doesn't have a job.
Kaiser Sosa here says, I have a security guard who asks me for money all the time. I told her I'm going to block her. She know I'm buying land and she thinks money grows on trees. I even offered to have her use some of my land for farming.
Which means working.
But she says
it's too far. I blocked her.
And but here's the thing, we've created a culture, and I think there are people back home who's like, I have my so and so abroad. I have this person abroad, and even them, they can go and drink their whatever and come together, whether it's tea or whatever, and say, you know what, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ask that family member who is abroad because they're doing so much better than we are. And it's a bad culture, because what happens is we have a significant amount of GDP in Kenya that comes from abroad, but it's not actually building the Kenyan economy. It's supporting people without giving them.
And that's
it's supporting people, and it's stimulating the economy. It's the same as getting a stimulus check. The stimulus check is very different than going to work and getting a check, and it does different things economics wise.
And that's an interesting point you bring up, because remittances from the diaspora
are more than tourism.
They're more than tourism, and a lot of this money, unfortunately, is not going into any kind of productive investments. And I think that's where the problem is with a lot of this money that's coming from the diaspora.